Hi there, Marcus Hofmeyer from the Rhino Recovery Fund. Just greetings from Zambia with one of the tools that we use to do biological and security management of rhino. Just quickly a rundown on the Rhino Recovery Fund. we support three main project types. Protected area management, which uses tools like this, law enforcement, rangers, biological management. Demand reduction and disruption of illegal wildlife trade, which is critical to eventually get to a point where we can safely look after rhinos. And lastly, recovering landscapes and supporting communities that live in and amongst rhino populations to become their best custodians. The area I'm in at the moment is along the Zambezi River, which has got significance both for black and white rhinos, the two African species. The black rhino used to occur here in very large numbers along the river and up the tributaries. We are now working with grantees that are trying to reintroduce them into this lovely area, and it's critical that we support bringing them back to this core area of where they used to exist. The other reason is this is the northernmost reach that white rhinos used to exist. They did not occur north of the Zambezi River, the southern white rhino. They almost went extinct. 20 to 50 were left over at the beginning of the 19th century. Through good biological management and protected area management, they recovered, were translocated within South Africa and to other areas in the continent, and there are roughly 15,000 of them now, and we can do the same for other rhino species as well. The three Asian species, greater one-horned, are occurring in reasonably good numbers, about 3,500, but they need to be translocated as well, and we're hoping to support that as well. Then we have two species in Indonesia, the Javan rhino, which occur only in one park, and there's a requirement to take more rhinos across to another site. Then there's the Sumatran rhino, which is the most endangered of all the rhino species, and they need to really have critical protection in the few jungle spots that they are left. One of the projects that we want to showcase today, the Tsavo Trust project in Kenya, is led by Richard Moller, and he will explain how all three of the project types that I spoke to are relevant to recovering rhinos in Kenya. And with no further ado, I'd like to hand over to Richard and his team, and he will do an introduction of the people that will be speaking to you tonight. Thank you very much for all your support, and we look forward to bringing more news to you in future expos.
Thank you, Marcus, for that introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard Moller, and I'm the CEO of the Tsavo Trust. I grew up in Kenya and have been involved in wildlife conservation now for 25 years, and I cut my teeth in rhino conservation in Lewa Wildlife Conservancy in northern Kenya. I'm here today with my colleague, Joseph Chalo. He's been with the Tsavo Trust for the last 10 years since we first started. He runs all our monitoring, wildlife conservation activities, and much of the liaison with our key partner, the Kenya Wildlife Service. So we work in the southern part of Kenya, in the Tsavo Conservation Area, an area that's 42,000 square kilometers. Within the Tsavo Conservation Area, there's Tsavo East, Tsavo West, and Chulu Hills National Parks that form the protected areas within, covering an area that's 22,000 square kilometers. This project is focused in Tsavo West National Park, that is 7,000 square kilometers. Within Tsavo West is an area that's called the Intensive Protection Zone that covers 3,000 square kilometers of Tsavo West. It's prime rhino habitat. Within the Intensive Protection Zone is what we call the Ungalia Rhino Sanctuary. This is a fortified, fenced rhino sanctuary that's 90 square kilometers. If we look back some years, in 1940, there were estimated to be 20,000 rhino in the Tsavos. In 1970, 6,000 to 8,000. And by 1989, a catastrophic loss due to poaching, 20 individuals remained. Staggering. The authorities at the time, in 1986, realizing that rhino were very, very close to the brink, established Ungalia Rhino Sanctuary in Tsavo West. And through the success of that sanctuary, with rhino numbers increasing, they moved 18 rhinos into the area that surrounded the sanctuary and created the beginning of what is today's IPZ. That was in 2008, and they started with 18 individuals. Since then, Tsavo's black rhino, as well as Kenya's black rhino numbers, have increased tremendously. It's been a very positive story. It's hard to believe that there's a situation where there's too many rhinos in a sanctuary. But in Ungalia, there is. We need to move some out. The sanctuary has reached its carrying capacity and beyond. There are social issues that are happening there right now, such as fighting rhinos, looking for territory, that are ever getting smaller and smaller as the rhino population in Ungalia grows. The recruitment rate is believed to be around 2% there now. Yet just outside the fence in the IPZ, the recruitment rate is approximately 5%. That's in line with Kenya's national rhino strategy. And that's what we aim to achieve over the coming years. So it's been a great success story, Tsavo, and we want to build on that. We've seen how many rhino Tsavo can hold. The habitat is there, all 3,000 square kilometers of it, and the space is there. It's such a rarity in today's rhino world. But we need to move rhino out of the sanctuary. We need to bring in other rhino from other overpopulated, fortified sanctuaries within Kenya. But before we can do that, and before we can allow this population to really bounce, there are certain enabling conditions in the IPZ that need to be met. Such things as more rangers, more outposts, more accommodation, more vehicles, fence line upgrades on certain boundaries, and of course, sustainable water use, such as the Sand Dam project. In all conservation activities, partnerships are key. Fortunately, over the last 7 years, a very strong partnership has evolved between Kenya Wildlife Service, the Zoological Society of London, and Tsavo Trust, amongst others. Many, many activities have unfolded over the last 7 odd years. Infrastructural, roads, pipelines, solar systems, vehicles, tractors, trailers, you name it. But we're still a way off. Fortunately, last year, through the Wildlife Conservation Network and Rhino Recovery Fund, they recognized the huge, huge potential that Tsavo offers for very significant rhino growth over the coming years. And they joined this effort. These partnerships, it's not going to work without them. It's as simple as that. Rhino Recovery Fund supported us last year with a brand new Land Cruiser for security activities, a 4x4 tractor, 2 trailers, 5 security outposts, and a lot of significant advice looking into the future on how things could work and improve on. Surrounding all protected areas, and Tsavo is not without this, there are many, many challenges that take shape, whether it's in the form of human-wildlife conflict, lack of employment, and so on. And so Tsavo Trust has pioneered the community conservancy model that was established in northern Kenya some decades ago. This is a movement to try and bring local communities totally on board with conservation projects. They need to be given ownership in projects. They need to be made a total part of it. A culture of conservation needs to unfold in these communities, and it can be achieved. There's good proof of that. So protective buffers to the protected area, employment to the communities, better security, livelihood improvements through fresh water, permaculture, better farming practice, many, many activities. And then, of course, there's the human-wildlife conflict mitigation that is ever present in all conservation areas today. Before I bring in Chalo, I just want to show you a very quick clip of the scenery and the habitat that Sava West offers. It's a great, great place. Come and visit. Over to you, Chalo.
Thank you, Richard Mola, for that introduction. I'll be taking you through how the Sawa Trust supports the Kenya Life Service in the protection and monitoring of black rhino in Sawa National Park. I had the opportunity to work with the Kenya Life Service as an intern in the Sawa Conservation Area before joining the Sawa Trust. The Sawa Trust supports KWS in a number of ways. Firstly, through area reconnaissance, and Sawa West being a largely roadless area, rhino monitoring and protection will be impossible without the aerial platform. So Sawa Trust conducts an average of 22 hours of aerial patrols specific for rhino monitoring and rhino protection. Secondly, we support KWS through our ground units, and these are both anti-poaching and monitoring units. The team work with KWS rangers in conducting foot and vertical patrols, improving on the patrol coverage in this important rhino area. We also assist KWS in fitting transmitters on Rhino, as well as deploying camera traps in the Rhino area. These two tools are essential in finding the free-ranging rhino in this densely vegetated area. So each year, KWS conducts rhino census inside the Rhino Sanctuary, and Sawa Trust supports and takes part in this noble activity. The main objective of this activity is to ascertain the black rhino population inside the sanctuary. We also confirm newborn rhinos and monitor health of individuals inside the sanctuary. We also look into better understanding of other wildlife species densities in the sanctuary, more so the predators. So looking forward, Sawa Trust will continue supporting the Kenya Life Service to enhance security and monitoring of this key one rhino population. We also intend to boost the genetic diversity of this population by conducting inbound translocation of rhinos from other areas. We also work into enhancing the financial options, and this will be through the Rhino Impact Bond, private-public partnerships, and effective philanthropy support for the rhino conservation. We also work with the communities to form important buffers to these national parks. And ultimately, we'll secure Sawa West National Park, which is the largest suitable rhino habitat in Kenya today. I would like to welcome back our CEO, Richard Mola, to conclude this presentation. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks, Chalo. Yeah, finally, I think what I'd like to say here is this project, it touches on everything, all wildlife and habitat, not just rhino, because the efforts, the huge efforts, the funding that goes into rhino conservation it touches on a much, much wider field, from elephants all the way down to dung beetles. But it can't be achieved without partnerships and support. It's as simple as that. And so organizational support, individuals, governmental, it all plays a huge, huge role to ensure these projects succeed. I hope you'll come on board. And to Rhino Recovery Fund, a very, very, very sincere thank you. Goodbye.